Thank you. Well, hello, thank you for having me. And I'm sorry that I have to do it in English. Well, Dutch people are maybe known that they are kind of okay with German. Well, for me, I'm okay with listening to German, probably not business-wise, but speaking for me is easier in Dutch or English, so that's why I stick to English for now. Well, I want to tell you shortly about IceMobile, the company that I work already for 6 years. We were founded in 2002 with the vision that mobile would be the most important medium in people's life. And I think maybe it's better to ask who doesn't have any mobile phone with them today, because I think that should be everyone. If you don't have it, probably you forgot it. Because people just don't go out without a mobile phone. I think if you ask people from stores if they would like a loyalty card on their mobile phone, they would say, yes, I would like it on my mobile phone because that's the device I always have with me compared to a loyalty card. So I think that's a good way to understand how important mobile is. And we already knew that in 2002 and experimented with that, all kind of things that people are not using anymore, like WAP, for instance. But mainly when the iPhone came out, we saw a big change and we started building mobile apps or brand utilities for a lot of brands like KLM and Philips. And then we merged with brand loyalty and we started to focus mainly on food retail. So we said goodbye to Philips and KLM and we started working for mainly Albert Heijn at that point in Holland. And then we started working for all the retailers where brand loyalty has close connections to. At this point, we're 120 people in Amsterdam, mainly developers and designers. So we're really a tech company. And we have a lot of nationalities. So I think that's really interesting also to get all the insights from all over the world, because we don't only design for Dutch people, but now we also design for worldwide retailers. So it's really good to have people in-house that actually know the culture or actually can speak the language. At this point, we also have more offices around the world. So our main office is in Amsterdam, but we're also working in Toronto, together with Loyalty One, which is one of the companies which we merged with. So our first merger was with Brand Loyalty, and then we merged with Loyalty One, which is part of Allianz Data. So at this point, I actually have 11,000 colleagues around the world, but I, of course, only live in Amsterdam, or actually work in Amsterdam, so that's the 120 people. We're actually a really interesting type of people. We have a lot of foodies, so people that are really passionate about food. People that actually make the craziest stuff with code and are actually design nerds, and also some people that actually brew beer, because we have our own beer brand. You can see that we have some stickers from IceMobile, and if you would visit our company, you can sometimes smell the smell of beer that we're brewing. And some people are actually unicorns, because they can just do all. It's crazy to see what kind of talented people we have that actually are developers, but they can also illustrate, and I think that's really what we stand for. Well, I already told that we work around the world, so these are some of our clients. We didn't do all digital loyalty campaigns for these clients, but that's together with our colleagues. But we launched our solution in Taiwan, in China, in Denmark, in Russia, in Holland, so we actually experience a lot of challenges around the world. What we see today, and probably you will recognize this, is that there's a really paradoxical change. Back in the days, it started with mom and pop shops, where the owner knew all his customers and actually talked to his customers. And around all these years, all the supermarkets grew, and they became grocery stores. And then there were more kind of options and more formats. So with all the skill and efficiency that we strived for, we actually lost its intimacy with our customers. And I think people from headquarters would know that it's a really long time ago that they actually spoke to real customers and know what they want. And we really try to get understanding and read all kind of research, but actually a real conversation with clients, most of us actually don't anymore have it. So this is what a supermarket is today, this big chain. And I think we actually have to go a bit back to the past, and this is how it looks. This is a real entrepreneur that has his own shop, and the people in the store actually know the customers. And this is actually a picture of my grandfather, which has a franchise back in the days of Albert Heijn. So I know a lot of stories from my grandfather, how he dealt with his clients and how he tried to innovate for in his store, but also tried to keep the service of his clients really high. He did all kinds of nice, innovative things, but a really important thing that he did was introducing the coffee corner. And now it's pretty, I'm not sure in Germany if it's that normal, but in Holland it's really normal that there is always a coffee corner in the supermarket. So my grandfather started that in his own Albert Heijn, and headquarters saw that it was pretty interesting, so they adapted it and rolled it out to all the Albert Heijns. Back then it was small, so there was a nice interaction between the stores and the franchisers and the headquarters. But he saw that this was a nice way to actually give service to his customers, but also to make them stay in the shop longer. So probably they would buy more. So this is a way how he improved service, but also grew his business. I also tried to do that, and this is actually this sign. It says, "This is how the client sees you." I didn't steal it from a supermarket from an Albert Heijn, but there was a store that actually was teared down, and this sign was in the toilet at the Albert Heijn I worked. And I worked there for 9 years, and this sign always reminded me when I go to the toilet to actually, when you go back, that you actually check yourself and think, do I look good enough? But also, yeah, I go back to customers and I have to give them the proper service that they deserve. So I also worked at Albert Heijn for a long time. In Holland, they say you can have blue blood if you are from an Albert Heijn family. And my grandfather worked at Albert Heijn, my uncles, and also my mom. So I helped out when I was 8 in store, actually put some stamps on pieces of paper. I don't know, I found it really exciting when I was 8. And I was 15, I was allowed to work. I started at Albert Heijn. And I was always really fond of getting to know the customer and knowing how I could help them a bit better. So I still try to do that in the things I do now in designing services, and this way it's digital for people and to understand what they want. So we would like to really strive for getting the intimacy of the past, so the past that my grandfather showed, but also on mass scale. But of course, this mom and pop shop, we cannot live from all these small stores. So at IceMobile, we think that with data and digital, we can really get this intimacy of the past on mass scale. So how can we try to actually reach all these customers, but to understand them and get all the insights from their individual wishes and make sure that we serve them on a bigger scale. So this is also the belief of IceMobile. We say understand one and touch all. We really search for the insights and the power of understanding individual customers, and then we are able to actually touch them all. So what we then deliver is world-class digital loyalty solutions for high-frequency retail, and in this case it's food retail and also banking. And that of course sounds really awesome, so touching all, delivering world-class thing, but I actually want to show you what we really built and what we do. And that's on 2 bases. We have long-term loyalty solution and short-term loyalty solutions. The short-term are the things we do together with brand loyalty, so that are loyalty programs in store, the things you collect paper stamps for, probably you're all known with that. You can collect for glasses or pens or cutlery. And what we build is a solution in which you can collect with your mobile phone. So you don't have to stick to paper anymore and you don't lose them. I will tell you a bit more about it later. But we also build some long-term solutions for retailers. So for Albert Heijn at the start, but now also for Jumbo in Holland, we build a solution where people can order their groceries. They can make a list, check recipes, check the promotions, and they're helped to get the best products, what serves their needs most, and then get it either delivered at home or checked at the pickup point near them. And we see that these solutions actually grow their business. Back then with Albert Heijn, we checked the people that had Appie, which was the app that we built, compared to people that didn't have Appie. And the people that were loyal with this application actually had a growth of 2 to 3% year on year. And people were really fond of the application. They were really fans. So it really helped them to grow their loyalty. And with the short-term loyalty, I will show you a bit more. We actually see that people spend way more than people that collect paper, because we have the opportunity to activate people with push notification and all kind of other services. So this is what I want to zoom in a bit more, is Bright Stamps, which is our digital solution. And that is attached to a normal loyalty program, so what you are aware of with paper stamps. What we see with digital is that people are performing way better, so they have a higher spend increase. How it works is that we use the loyalty card, but in the future it can also be on the mobile phone, or it can be NFC, depending on the technology that the retailers have in-house. Because maybe you are aware of that most of the cash registers are not able to scan a mobile phone, because the light is not well, so you need a 2D hand scanner to actually scan a mobile phone. So we would really like to have a full mobile solution, but if the cash registers are not ready for it, we cannot do it. So we use the loyalty card of people. They're already used to that behavior, and when they scan the loyalty card, we know how much stamps they are eligible for, and then we record it in our database, and in the app people can show can view their balance, and we remind them about their balance, or that they can redeem for rewards. It's actually way faster than paper, because they're already giving their loyalty card, so the cashier doesn't have to get all the paper stamps, so it also reduces time at the checkout. And of course, because we track all people's behavior, we have a lot of insights and business intelligence which we can show. So that's a nice opportunity. It starts with a mobile app. It's not only a mobile app, but it always explains it best to see what is the service. We ask people their loyalty card, and they register just with 2 clicks. So they just enter their loyalty card, and from that on, they're registered and they're collecting digital. Then they can view their balance, so that's what you see on top. They can always see what they have. So with paper stamps, you have it at home and somewhere in your wallet, so you never know what is your total. So it's a bit harder to track your performance. We show the rewards that we highlight, and we also have the opportunity to have supplier-funded products in the app. So we can show with which product people can collect faster and get extra stamps. And that's really powerful, because with most of the loyalty programs, that's kind of hidden in store, or it's not in the leaflet, or people don't always know that they can collect actually faster with buying these products. So having that in the app and then pushing that, for instance, with push notifications really helps to help people collect faster, but it's also powerful for the suppliers because they have a way to promote their products. This was our white label product, but this is how it looks like in different countries where we run this program. The first one was in Russia, the second one in Taiwan, and the third one in Denmark. We already did 4 campaigns in Denmark with Coop, and all the apps look completely different compared to the program that we run. So you see that it's one product, but we can adapt to the designs of the retailer or the program that runs. But it's not only an app, because we also need a lot of services to support the program, because people need to be able to convert paper stamps to digital, or when they have questions, they need an environment at a service desk to actually check if the transactions were right. And of course, we don't only have an app, but also a website. But we do see that a mobile application works best at this point. And that's mostly because of push messaging, because we help people to remind, for instance, to register. So if people only download the app, we use a push notification to remind them to register, and we see a really big uplift of people registering. And from that on, they're digital collectors, and then we know that they will perform better. But what is also really powerful is at the end to remind people to redeem. Paper won't talk to you, so it's really handy to say you just have 3 weeks left to redeem, and then we see a big uplift of people redeeming for the rewards. And that's, of course, important for the business. And like I said, it's not only an app, but we also use web. Some people find it easier. They don't actually want to download an application, so then we give the website to just increase reach. But these people don't receive push notification, but email, and we see a slight difference in how these people perform. But we still use both. Like I said, we also have some services. This is how we call our retailer portal. So this is installed at the service desk. At the right, you see that it also works on really old computers. Sometimes that's necessary in the store. And that can help to, for instance, convert paper stamps to digital, or transfer stamps from one core to the other. So all kinds of questions that customers have to manage the program. And at the headquarters, the supermarket can manage the supplier-funded products, so they can add the products and the amount of stamps that people have. So that's the tool we provide. And like I said, because we have all these people collecting digitally, we have a lot of insights and we can act upon it. So if we see that there's a lot of people that have a high balance but doesn't redeem, we're gonna push them a bit more. So we target on specific IDs and make sure that these people will redeem and go to the store. And there are way more things that we get out of these analytics and that we can make sure that the program performs better. To make sure that people participate in the program, we have all kinds of ways. Social campaigns, it's really effective to push downloads in Facebook. We also use the store, the employees by store competitions. So what we saw in Taiwan, that all the employees are actually wearing a QR code, and then if you scanned it, their store will be higher in the competition. So we saw QR codes all over the place. In Taiwan, it's still really popular to scan QR codes. In Europe, it's a bit less, but over there, they're everywhere. And what we also do is lucky draw competitions. So we say if you collect this week, you can win a prize, or in a specific week you get double stamps. So there are all kinds of ways to activate users to perform better, and we really like to experiment with that. And that are all things you cannot do with paper. That's just what it is, and like I said, it doesn't talk to you. So it's interesting to have that conversation with customers and actually experiment. Sometimes we just use a small target audience and then we test a specific message only with that group. And then next campaign we can do it in a bigger group. So that's a nice story, but it actually gives us nice results, because we see that, well, in general, a loyalty program increases spend, but digital collectors have even a 50% higher spend increase, so they perform way better. And interesting is that it's also attracting a new group. So we have 10% of people that actually wouldn't have not been participants if there wouldn't be digital. They really like to collect with their mobile phone and actually don't like paper. And they sometimes even brag about it. So they say, I'm really cool, I'm collecting with my phone, they say in line. That's what we saw from interviews. And these people also redeem more. So the average of rewards that they redeem is higher than paper. So we see that that is an interesting result. Like I said, we like to understand one and touch all, but that's a nice word. How do we actually do it? We have a really important way of working and actually reaching it. And that's agile. And some people probably knew about the word, but I would like to explain to you in a really simple way, and that's through marshmallows. Maybe you know about the Marshmallow Challenge. There's actually a really nice TED Talk. If you would like to see it, you should check it afterwards because it's really powerful. It's a challenge that's done for team building. And all teams get the same amount of straws of spaghetti, a piece of tape, a bit of straw, and a marshmallow. And the challenge is that everyone needs to build a tower. And the only thing is that the marshmallow should be on top. And it should stand, of course, when you check it. So it shouldn't be attached to anything else, just standing still. This is the normal type of people that does these kind of challenges. So people in suits, business people on team building things, and they're really excited. And you think, well, maybe they're actually quite good at it because they're smart people. But actually, the people that are way better at it are kindergarten students. They're actually way better in building these towers. And why is that? Well, this is what business people will do. They will orient and think about, well, the straw, there's a reason why we need it, or the plastic, and then they make a plan together. And then there's always the one with the biggest mouth, of course, say, well, this is the plan that we're going to do. So there's also some fighting. And then they're going to build. So they just start from the zero. And then at the end, they think, ta-da, I will do the marshmallow on it. But it always changes into, uh-oh, because actually you think a marshmallow is really not that heavy. But it actually is compared to the material you have. So at the end, they just, all the 80 minutes, and the tower falls down. So they don't have any result. What kindergarten students do is that they experiment. So they start with just maybe 3 straw and the marshmallow on top. And then they try it again, and they do the marshmallow. Sometimes they eat it, but that's a bit smaller kids. There's also actually another marshmallow challenge is about kids and how if they want to save for later for their pension and if they eat a marshmallow or not. But that's another marshmallow challenge. So they experiment and they try with the marshmallow and then do it again and again. And then sometimes the tower are smaller, but they actually have a tower that stands because they're already halfway and they already reached their goal. So that's what agile working means. It's actually not that difficult. It's actually experimenting and also learning by small steps and not to go crazy at start, but actually, and if you talk about mobile, to actually release something that is small and not to do, for instance, with our mobile app, with Bright Stamps, everyone started with, and people need to be able to share the stamps with each other. Well, that's pretty complicated because it needs to be safe, because if you only have a card with a number and there's no account attached to it, if I would steal the number of someone else's card, I can just get their stamps. With paper, that's a bit harder because I have to get your wallet or I have to go into your kitchen and get your paper stamps. But with digital, it makes it easier to steal stamps. So it needs to be safe. But everyone wanted to have that sharing of stamps at the start. And then it's really, you need to be powerful to say, we want to launch earlier and make sure that it works. And then without the sharing, but then if all customers will request it, then it's actually a nice surprise that we say, well, customers, we listened to you and we added this functionality. And then they actually think that they actually invented it themselves. That's also what we experienced with Albert Heijn in the past. People liked to synchronize their shopping list, so then husband and wife can share the same shopping list. This was already planned for a few months, but it was complicated because there can be syncing issues. So what if at the same time people change something? You see with, for instance, Google Drive or Google Docs in the past, you can use the same document at the same time. Technically, that's really difficult because it's really hard to track who was first and to avoid conflicts. So with the sharing of shopping lists, it has the same technical difficulty. So this sharing was already on the backlog, so the plans we had for a while. And then everyone was requesting it. And then we got from an interview that someone told, I actually sent an email to Albert Heijn that I would like the syncing. And then 6 weeks later, there was this syncing. So she actually thought that she invented it, told Albert Heijn. And then 6 weeks later, magically, it's not possible in 6 weeks, I can tell you, it was there. So that's awesome. Let all these customers believe that they invented it. And I think that's also a way to actually get this intimacy with customers. If you would say, thank you, you got us all this feedback. But we use this feedback actually to prioritize. And that's also with Agile really important. You need to dare to choose, and sometimes dare to choose to do a bit less and then do it really good. And that's why we used research a lot, and we have also an Agile way of researching. And I would like to go through Pulse UX testing, context chat, and experience mapping. That are our own words, so that's not something you can Google. We invented the words itself. It's not important, but just a way to make it our own. You are probably aware of usability testing, and with software it's really important to actually see a customer using your software and to see if they find it easy to use. And all these usability testing is really extensive. So you build the software, you start testing, and then you get this big report of all the things that people found really difficult. And then it's already too late. It's a bit of the uh-oh moment in the marshmallow. So you put it on top, you give it to a customer, and then they actually cannot use it. They're actually already stuck at the registration, for instance. So we really like to involve the customer way earlier and to make sure that our developers and designers actually meet real customers on a weekly basis. So in our Agile process, which works with so-called sprints, so you build a piece of software in 2 weeks, and then it's finished. So in these 2 weeks, they already test the thing they just built. So we say that it is a pulse. That's why it's pulse usability testing. And the team itself does the reporting. So normally there's a usability agency that does the research for them. And then they come with a report. And then the designers would say, but what did you ask them? Or who is the respondent? So they will always question the results because they actually get a negative feedback about their design. So of course they don't want to hear it. So now they actually hear what the customer thinks themselves, because we put the team in the interview in the team room, and they live record the thing that is tested at that same point. So that's what you see on the right. There's our researcher, and she's interviewing the customer, and she's holding the phone. So at the same time, you see where she touched the phone, and they will hear that. And then in the other room, the team is watching her. And then they make their own report. So they just report themselves what they find is important to improve. And that makes it really easy to adapt the product along the way, even before we launch it. and then we know for sure that if we launch it, people would actually use it and like it. So that's also what we did with our Jumbo app in Holland. That's a way to order groceries. They started with pick-up points and now also home delivery. And we tested this really intensively. Actually, this design already changed because you see a list in the bottom, this yellow corner. We already changed it. It's now on the right top corner. There are small details, but it actually makes it easier for people to navigate through the app. And it actually worked because we are awarded with best app from a consumer panel with Kassa in Holland. And that's, for us, is really important. We like all these kind of rewards and from digital rewards, but actually if the consumer says that they really like it, I think that is our biggest achievement. And that's also because we tested it regular with real users, people that actually are really open to say that they don't understand it or don't like it. Sometimes we make small jokes in our software, and that's what we did with Appie with emoji search. You probably know emoji from WhatsApp. People use it a lot. And in Jumbo app, you can also search with emoji. So if you use a pizza icon, a beer icon, you will find products that are related to it. We also, of course, made a small joke. So if there's a broken heart, you get chocolate. Because people need chocolate if they... So it's just small jokes or Easter eggs just to bring people a bit small smile. It doesn't have to be always that serious. It's, of course, a bit hidden. So people are blogging about it or twittering about it. And this is not something we get from research, but this, of course, is also a way to get a bit of a conversation and then make sure that people start talking about your product and then get a lot of feedback. So this is also a way to get closer to your customer and sometimes just don't treat everything that serious. This is our context chatting, not the big pile of papers, but we actually use WhatsApp or WeChat or Lime, depending on the country, to chat with, again, real customers. We really like these kind of panel discussions, but it's always a bit unnatural because people are invited, they get a nice cup of coffee, and then they actually feel that they need to be positive about what they're testing. Or they're all negative, and then everyone starts to be negative, so there's always a bit of a bias. And it's really nice to actually get feedback from people in their real environment, and also at the moment they're using your product. Because if you ask them 4 weeks later, it changed. So we use chat in a really sort of easy way to get people's feedback on a program. So during a loyalty program, some people use paper, some people use digital. Like twice a week, we give them a small assignment, and they can answer with text or with a video if they like to make selfies. They can choose their own way of answering the question, and they're really easy. Just explain me if you had a goal to collect for the pens or glasses, and what was your goal? And then next week we check it again, and then suddenly the goal changes, but people don't even remember. So that are for us really interesting insights, because if we would ask them at the end, they would probably say, yeah, I had a goal, but we know that they changed their goal along the way without knowing. So there are ways to get interesting insights, or how actually people stick the thing on a piece of paper. Because there was one customer that actually did it diagonally, because it seemed way more than if you did it really nice and neat. So for us, that's interesting insight if we could design a digital solution that maybe we can play with showing how many stamps you have and make it a bit more positive than what people would expect. So for instance, we have a progress bar with the rewards, and if you need 80 stamps, it's really dissatisfying if we would say you still need 70 if you have 10. So at the start, if you go before halfway, we would say, oh, continue, you're really doing well. And at the end, we would say exactly how much stamps you have, because at the start, you don't want to say still 70. So there are also things we use in our designs to get these insights how people are performing better. And I really like this context chatting also to do it myself. So the team, again, is involved. So not only the researcher, to actually have a nice conversation with someone that's using our program at that point. It's really cool if they're at the other end of the world and actually using the thing we just built. And that excitement we really try to share with all our colleagues. And that is actually the thing, the same excitement that my grandfather had in his store by getting to know people. Well, all these insights from business intelligence and from the experience mapping, from Pulse, we sometimes try to visualize it in one nice, inspiring map, which we call an experience map. This is actually fake data, or we actually tweaked it a bit because we're not allowed to share it. But the story is correct. We have certain personas that do, in this case, pick up point and home delivery. And they have a sort of emotional flow through their journey, from ordering to actually picking up or getting it at home. And an interesting thing, maybe in Germany it is also the case, sometimes if you order online you get a nice present. So sometimes a sample, which you can get in store, but sometimes you also get it with an online order. And you would guess that it's a nice present, so everyone would be happy with it. What we saw with some Albert Heijn users, they do it really often, but they actually don't share that as a present, so it's kind of hidden in all your groceries. And then you're a bit surprised, like, what is this weird chips doing in my grocery? And then even people are making fights with their husband or wives, like, did you order it? I don't need it. So that actually brings stress. And it's really easy to actually solve it by maybe wrapping it nicely and saying, this is a gift from us. So that are small insights we get from this kind of research we do by actually talking to people. And that's then an offline solution. But of course, you can also do that digitally by actually reminding them before, by sending a push message, we have a nice surprise for you. This is actually our story in sharing how we, well, what I said, understanding one and touching all. And we do that in many ways. So we built bright stamps, which we can tell you a lot more about on our booth. And we build a lot of long-term solutions. But we do way more and really want to do way more than we are already doing. So we really like to talk. Over there is our stand. Vivienne is my IceMobile colleague, and also our brand loyalty colleagues are over there. And if you have questions already, you can ask them now, of course. I think we have a bit more time, right? Yeah.
No, it's okay.
Yeah?
Yeah, time is very
So I don't
good.
know if questions or not.
Questions? Fragen? Gerne auch auf Deutsch.
Yeah, there are, yeah, if I understand. Yeah, or you translate.
Ja, hier vorne. Mikrofon kommt.
Thank you for that presentation. I would like to ask you, what are the most common functions in an app? What is the most popular one, or 5, let's say? And what are the most, let's say, awesome functions you ever implemented? What is really freaky, let's say?
Oh. Well, actually, it's interesting. The most popular functionality is not in the app, but is actually getting the push notification, because people don't even need to open the app. So that's also interesting for the future. We could also use WhatsApp and just conversations, and then you don't even need an app. So just seeing for the future, that for us is really interesting to see how apps will be used less, and then you can use conversations. So that is used most. Then, of course, checking the balance. And then the rewards are mostly used at the start to just see what's there. And then the balance is used and the supplier-funded offers. So it's not that broad, because that's the only thing you need for a program. If you see in an app just like Jumbo, then the promotions and the recipes are really popular. That are things that people use a few times a week sometimes. And the most awesome feature I built is, I'm thinking, because maybe it's not in bright stamps, but I think I'm always really excited if it goes beyond the mobile app. So if it actually interacts with other devices, so with iBeacon or with NFC, so actually combining technologies, or something that has actually never been done before. We built, back in the days for KLM, a way to create a video with the pictures you have on your phone. Now it's used more often, but back then we actually were the first one. We realized to kill an iPhone with the software we built. So it actually asked way too much of the whole processor in the phone, which I think is cool. Of course that shouldn't happen, but it's actually sort of looking for the boundaries in software. And I really like if things are not possible yet. We also built an iBeacon implementation on Android where it wasn't possible on Android yet. So hacked all the way. I really like that. So things that are hacky, nerdy, that kind of stuff.
Okay, thank you for that. And one, let's say, standard question. Did you get feedback from your customers about the percentage of pushing their business? What effect is usual if you implement a solution for them?
Yeah, well, I think you could say that if most of our customers always want a second or third or even more programs with us, I think that is a good result. So they start and they're actually, same as the end consumer, they're a bit addicted to it. So so most of our clients are not just a one-time program. And that's the same as with brand loyalty. So they also start with a program and then they continue. So then we go along. And so that I think is a good result. But we also show the results. So the spend increase is really good. So there's no reason not to do it because the investment pays back. So that's it. Any other questions?
Dankjewel Karlijn voor de presentatie.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you very much for your presentation. You make all kinds of apps for different countries, different companies. How do you deal with the international cultural differences to use it and to make your apps?
Well, it's interesting that a lot of things are actually similar. When we started working internationally, I was a bit afraid because I always, I'm more a creative and a designer, so I really think you need to go in depth of the knowledge of the company and the branch you're working for. So I thought, I don't know anything about China. And then you realize that doing groceries is actually pretty similar in a lot of countries. There are some small tweaks, but it's pretty easy to get these insights because, of course, we have all the nationalities. But you find there are certain things that are different, but the program on itself is similar. So people like to collect and get things for free. And the digital program, of course, in Asia, you would like to have more animations and craziness. But still, some people in Asia really like European design. So we actually have a positive point there. So I saw that also always as really challenging, but by having people on board, so people from brand loyalty, they work around the globe, so we have actually colleagues working there. So insights from the culture we get really easily. And with the context chat, we actually get feedback straight away. So if there are things that are really wrong, we actually change it immediately, because that's the easy thing with software, you can just update it. So that's what we do.
Schön.
Okay.
Ich glaube, wir müssen auch weitermachen.
Yeah.
Herzlichen
Thank you.
Dank nochmal.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for this
Thank you.
inspiring presentation.